All right, so I'm Kristen and I'm here today to talk to you about the need to make all of our learning viral. But our journey together actually starts in a place extremely far away from the hustle and bustle of New York. It begins on a reservation in northern New Mexico called Zuni land. And through a series of events that are much too complex for a 9-minute talk, I found myself there just a few weeks ago. Zuni land is pretty remote. It's about a 45-minute drive to a McDonald's, a Starbucks, a grocery store, you name it, it's far away. In this town, they actually still bake their bread in mud ovens, and trust me, it's delicious if you love carbs like I do. And so, if you know me, one of the first places that I went to in Zuni was the gym. And so, I entered the gym, checked out their class schedule, and was delighted to find that they in fact had a cycling class. Hopped into the cycling class, it was about half full when a tanned, toned, ferociously inked instructor walked in and played, wait for it, that song. And I thought to myself, how is a place that is so far removed from what we know and what we sort of experience in our daily life, aware of that song? They bake bread in mud ovens and they know that song. How do these ideas become viral? And so if we look to Wikipedia, Wikipedia really describes a viral learning experience as something that replicates only inside the living cells of an organism. And I think that is so important. But I think this idea of taking something and making it viral needs to spread far beyond silly cat pictures and music videos. I think it needs to touch one of the most important things in the human experience. It needs to touch learning. And so in May of 2010, I, along with 10 other educators, was part of one of the most viral learning experiences, Edcamp. And I found through that experience and through many others that I've analyzed over the past 3 to 5 years, that there are 3 things that truly will take a regular learning experience and make it shareable, spreadable, and most importantly, viral. And those 3 qualities are that it has to be participatory, it has to be personal, and it has to be powerful. By participatory, I mean that there have to be many points of access, from the most novice to the most expert. Think about Gangnam Style. Perhaps you just get involved by doing the dance. Perhaps you remix the entire video and get your entire school involved. Lots of opportunities to differentiate the ways to get involved. Play Shirky and Cognitive Surplus reminds us we are not wired to sit in front of the television. We are wired to roll up our sleeves and dig in. And good learning experiences that we want to share and that we want to replicate are always participatory. The second component of viral learning experiences is that they are personal. You can put your stamp on it. You can make it your own. You experience the autonomy that is provided by the design itself. If we think back to Gangnam Style, there's perhaps you've seen the version with the babies, perhaps you've seen the version with schools, perhaps you've seen the versions in the various offices across the country. Those different audiences were able to make it their own. They put their stamp on it. And so good viral learning experiences also have to be personalized. And finally, viral learning experiences have to be powerful. They have to make you feel like you are a part of something bigger than yourself. That feeling of epicness, that you can take what you've learned and join a community that will help you change the world. And perhaps Gangnam Style isn't helping us change the world, but it's certainly bringing just a little bit more joy to it. And so, as I said, in May of 2010, I was a part of Edcamp. And for me, that has been a very powerful viral learning experience. But the important thing that I learned from that experience is that this concept isn't new. Dewey has been talking about this since the School and the Society in the 1950s. He said learning has been put into circulation. He goes on to say that it's been liquefied and that it needs to flow through the currents and veins of society. And so what the modern day and age has really allowed us to do that is different than exactly what Dewey was proclaiming is that we can spread things through digital networks so that our ideas can accelerate and be shared at a much more rapid pace. And so Edcamp, which started in May of 2010, is something that adheres to those 3 viral elements, as well as joining in on the promise and power of digital networks. Let's start with participatory. When you show up at an Edcamp, there's no schedule. Everyone who comes, they are the right people. Everything that's learned, that is the right learning. And when you attend an Edcamp, you realize that the smartest person in the room is, of course, as we have all heard, read, and seen, the room. And what we do in our environment is we empower educators to share and grow. And some of the most powerful Edcamp sessions have actually been presented by students. Because as teachers, who better to learn from than those who are in our classes learning alongside us and learning with us. Edcamps are also highly personal. When we put together the first Edcamp, we identified 6 tenets. And beyond those 6 tenets, nothing else was quite out of bounds. And what we saw was regional areas putting their own stamp on the event, whether it was the way they organized the schedule, whether it was the way that they reached out to educators, learners, and teachers, whether it was the way that they provided lunch. They chose how they wanted their event to look. It created an environment where reform, learning, and conversation was inherently local. And finally, it was powerful. As people started to hold their own Edcamps, their own days of learning and sharing with each other, from each other, they began to feel that they were part of something larger. They began to see that their participation in this small event was actually contributing to making learning and teaching better for all of our students across the globe. Our model did not start with us. We learned the model by attending a bar camp. We've drawn on some of the premise of open space technology. We've learned from other educators who have organized similar events in our nation and across our globe. But something that we've taken from this is that people are ready for these types of ideas and people are excited to share them. You can see that since May of 2010, we have had over 250 Edcamp events across our nation and across our globe. And mostly because the design of the day adheres to those 3 qualities of viral learning. It's participatory, it's personal, and it's powerful. And so I challenge you, students, I challenge you, teachers, I challenge you, learners, as you return to the world this afternoon when our event is done. How will you take what's important to you, and how will you make it viral? Thank you.